A human doctor saved the alien princess, so the king gave her to him. Unlike Earth, Veridia's skies shimmered with green and gold light, reflecting the planet's unusual atmosphere. Elias adjusted the controls and felt a familiar thrill, the thrill of entering the unknown. He was a human, one of many in the galaxy, but he had always been drawn to the mysteries that other people avoided. The mission was simple yet daunting. Princess Liara, daughter of King Orevan, had fallen gravely ill. Her condition was unlike anything the Veridian healers had seen before. Many believed she would not survive. Elias had been called across the stars because of his skill, reputation, and ability to think differently. Humans were often underestimated, but they had something that others did not: adaptability, creativity, and a willingness to risk everything for life. Elias' ship landed on a vast platform that floated above the royal city. The architecture of Veridia was breathtaking, towering crystal towers that reflected the light in dazzling patterns, streets filled with hovering vehicles, and beings of all shapes moving with elegance. Elias stepped out, taking a deep breath. The air was thin, but he had prepared with breathing adjustments and special filters. He carried only a small medical kit, but his mind was full of ideas and determination. A group of royal attendants approached, their movements precise and deliberate. "Doctor." "Trent," one said in a melodic voice, "the king awaits you. The princess's condition is worsening." Elias nodded, following them through the grand halls of the palace. Every surface shimmered with light, and intricate designs moved like living patterns across walls and floors. He had seen many advanced civilizations, but Veridia's beauty was unmatched. King Orevan sat on a throne that seemed carved from a single massive crystal. His long robes shimmered with colors that changed depending on the angle of the light. "Doctor." "Trent," the king said, his voice calm but commanding, "our daughter Liara is ill. Our best healers have tried everything. She does not respond. We have heard of your skill with difficult cases. Can you save her?" Elias bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I will do my best. I have faced challenging cases before. I will examine Princess Liara and determine the best treatment. I cannot promise results, but I promise to try every possible option." The king's eyes, deep and piercing, studied Elias for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "You may see her." Elias was led through winding corridors filled with soft light. The halls were quiet except for the hum of energy flowing through the palace. When they arrived at the princess's chamber, he was greeted by a gentle glow emanating from within. The door slid open, revealing Princess Liara lying on a raised platform. She looked small and delicate, with skin that shimmered faintly and hair that flowed like liquid silver. Her eyes, normally bright and intelligent, were closed, and her breathing was shallow. Elias approached carefully, observing the monitors and magical-like instruments the Veridian healers had placed around her. He checked her vitals, noting what the devices showed. The illness was strange, even for his experience in interstellar medicine. It was as if the disease was not fully natural. It resisted standard treatments and adapted quickly. He turned to the lead Veridian healer. "What have you tried?" he asked. "We have used all standard methods," the healer replied. "Her energy flow is blocked. She cannot respond to the medicines we use. We do not understand the disease." Elias frowned, studying the princess carefully. He noticed something the others had not: a subtle fluctuation in her pulse, a faint irregularity that suggested the illness was more than a simple infection. He placed a hand gently on her wrist and felt the difference. "This is not just a physical illness," he said softly. "It is affecting her entire system, including her energy balance. I need to study it further." Over the next hours, Elias worked tirelessly. He examined every measurement, ran tests, and observed Liara's subtle responses. He combined human medicine with his observations of alien biology. He was aware that every decision mattered. One wrong step could end her life. Yet Elias was calm. This was what he was trained for. When the stakes were highest, human ingenuity often shone brightest. While working, he also noticed how the palace staff treated him. Some were skeptical, watching him closely. They whispered about the human who dared to heal a royal princess. Others were curious, amazed that a single human could approach the problem with fresh eyes. Elias did not mind the scrutiny. He focused only on Liara. As the hours passed, he observed a pattern. The illness was intelligent in a sense, adapting to treatments in ways that suggested it could sense and respond to interference. This was unusual, even for Veridia's advanced medical understanding. Elias knew he had to act quickly. Waiting for standard methods to work would fail. He needed a new approach, something unconventional. He reviewed the princess's environment, her recent activities, and her diet. He noticed that certain energy fields in the room seemed to interfere with her body's natural healing. "The disease reacts to its surroundings," he muttered. "If I can adjust her environment, I may give her body a chance to fight back." Using human ingenuity, Elias rearranged the monitors, adjusted the energy flows, and applied a mixture of alien remedies combined with human medicine. He monitored her every heartbeat, every breath. Slowly, the princess's condition began to stabilize. It was subtle at first, a slight deepening of her breathing, a small change in the pulse, a faint movement of her fingers. Elias' heart lifted with cautious hope. By the end of the day, the royal court gathered outside the chamber, anxious and fearful. News of progress traveled fast. The king himself approached, his expression unreadable. Elias stepped forward. "Your Majesty, she is showing signs of recovery. The treatment is working, but it is delicate. She needs constant care and observation." The king studied Elias, then nodded slowly. "You have given us hope, human. That is no small gift. We will trust you fully with her care." For the first time since his arrival, Elias allowed himself a small smile. He knew the hardest part was yet to come, but this was a victory, the first step toward saving Princess Liara's life. As the night fell over Veridia, Elias stayed by the princess's side. He watched the stars through the crystal walls, thinking about how fragile life could be, yet how resilient it was when guided by determination and care. He was a human on an alien world, yet he felt the same responsibility he would have felt on Earth. Life was life, no matter the planet or species. Liara stirred slightly in her sleep, a faint smile crossing her lips. Elias watched, hopeful. He did not know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew that humans, with their courage and creativity, could face challenges that even advanced civilizations struggled with. This was the beginning of something greater, a story that would change both their worlds forever. As he prepared for the next day, Elias felt a strange sense of belonging. Perhaps it was not the planet or the palace that mattered, but the act of saving a life, bridging the gap between species, and proving that humans could rise to challenges that others could not. He glanced at the sleeping princess and whispered, "We'll get through this, Liara, together." Outside, the winds of Veridia carried the light of distant stars, shimmering in green and gold. A human doctor had arrived, and the fate of a princess, and perhaps the future of the planet, had begun to change. The next morning, Dr. Elias Trent woke to the soft glow of Veridia's twin suns spilling through the crystal windows of the royal chamber. Princess Liara lay in the center of the room, her silver hair spread across the raised platform like a flowing river of light. For the first time since his arrival, Elias felt a spark of hope. Her breathing was steadier, her pulse more regular, and subtle signs of life danced across her face. Yet he knew better than to trust appearances. The illness that gripped her was cunning and relentless. Elias gathered his tools and began another round of careful observation. He moved slowly, respecting the alien instruments and devices already in place. Veridian healers hovered nearby, watching every move. Some were skeptical, unsure if a human doctor could truly understand the complexities of their biology. Others were quietly hopeful, their eyes betraying admiration for Elias' focus and precision. He studied the monitors, reading the strange symbols that translated Liara's vital signs. The patterns were unusual, fluctuating energy levels, spikes of heat in unexpected areas, and a pulse that sometimes slowed as if the illness itself was testing him. Elias scribbled notes on a small tablet, his brow furrowed. He needed a plan, one that combined his knowledge of human medicine with the principles of Veridian biology. "This is not just an infection," he said quietly, speaking more to himself than anyone else. "It's adaptive. It changes when we intervene. It's intelligent in a way." The lead Veridian healer, a tall being named Valor, nodded. "Yes, we have observed this. Our medicines slow it temporarily, but the illness returns stronger and faster. You are our only hope, human." Elias nodded and considered his options. He knew that conventional methods alone would not work. He needed to think differently, to find an approach that the disease could not anticipate. After long study, he realized that the illness responded not only to medicine, but also to its surroundings. Certain energy fields in the room suppressed its growth, while others seemed to encourage it. By manipulating these fields, he could give Liara's body a chance to fight back. He began carefully adjusting the instruments, shifting energy flows and changing environmental variables. He worked slowly, methodically, testing every adjustment and observing the results. Hours passed, and the Viridian healers watched in silence. They had never seen anyone move with such confidence, yet so much caution in their presence. By midday, Elias had made small but significant progress. Liara's pulse stabilized and her breathing deepened. He smiled faintly but did not celebrate. "It's working, but only just," he muttered. "I need to combine this with a treatment that her body can actually accept. Something that can adapt as fast as the illness does." The human doctor rummaged through his kit, mixing carefully measured doses of alien compounds with human medications. He created a small vial of luminescent liquid that shimmered with a soft blue light. "This will not cure her instantly," he explained, "but it will help her immune system fight the disease, and it can adjust itself as the illness changes." Vaylor looked at him with a mixture of awe and concern. "You are certain this is safe?" he asked. Elias shook his head. "Nothing is guaranteed, but doing nothing guarantees failure. We must take this risk." With steady hands, he administered the treatment to Princess Liara. The liquid flowed into her body, and for a moment, nothing happened. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then slowly, her breathing grew deeper, her skin regained a soft glow, and her energy readings improved. The monitors reflected steady progress. "It's working," Elias whispered. "She's responding." Vaylor exhaled, relief washing over him. "I did not think this possible." "Your human methods, they are unlike anything we know. You are remarkable, Dr. Trent." Elias allowed himself a small smile, though his focus remained on Liara. The illness was cunning, and he knew it could attempt to resist again at any moment. He stayed by her side, adjusting treatments, monitoring vitals, and observing her subtle movements. As the day passed, Liara began to show signs of awareness. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing deep, violet irises that shone with intelligence and curiosity. She looked at Elias, her gaze weak but clear. "Who are you?" she asked softly. "I am Dr. Elias Trent," he replied gently. "I am here to help you. You are very sick, but you are strong. We will get through this together." Liara attempted a small smile, and Elias noticed the faintest spark of recognition in her eyes. Even in her weakened state, she seemed to understand the effort he had made to save her. The room filled with quiet hope. Over the next few hours, Elias continued his work, observing how her body reacted to each adjustment. He explained his methods to Vaylor and the other healers, showing them how human intuition and creativity could complement their advanced technology. The healers were amazed by the simplicity yet effectiveness of his approach. He did not rely solely on machines or magic-like devices. He relied on observation, critical thinking, and a willingness to take calculated risks. By evening, Princess Liara's condition had improved significantly. She could sit up with support, her color returning and her strength slowly growing. The king himself arrived, accompanied by a group of advisors. His eyes widened as he saw his daughter, her vitality returning. "You have done what no one else could," King Oravan said, his voice filled with both relief and respect. "You have saved my daughter, human. Your skill is extraordinary." Elias bowed. "Your Majesty, she is recovering well, but she must remain under observation. The illness is adaptive. It may try to return if not monitored carefully." The king nodded. "We will follow your guidance. You have our trust completely." As night fell over Viridia, Elias stayed in the princess's chamber. He observed her as she rested, noting the subtle improvements in her vitals and energy patterns. He allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. Humans were often underestimated across the galaxy. Many civilizations saw them as weak or inexperienced. Yet here he was, on an alien world, saving a life that no one else could. He realized that human ingenuity, courage, and determination were strengths that even advanced species could not ignore. Princess Liara stirred slightly and murmured, "Thank you for saving me." Elias smiled gently. "You did all the work, Princess. Your body is strong and your spirit is even stronger. I only guided it. You are the one who fought to survive." The princess's eyes closed again, a peaceful expression settling over her face. Elias watched over her, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges. The illness had been slowed, but it had not been fully defeated. He needed to remain vigilant, ready to adapt to any change. As he stepped outside for a moment, Elias looked at the city below, glowing in the soft light of Veridia's moons. He felt a deep connection to this world, not just as a visitor, but as someone who had made a difference. He realized that the story of humans was not only about survival, but also about the courage to act when others could not. Later that night, a soft knock came at his door. It was Liara, walking carefully with support. Her strength was still fragile, but her determination was clear. "Dr. Trent," she said, her voice firmer now, "teach me what you did. I want to understand." Elias was surprised but pleased. "Of course, Princess, I will show you everything." Knowledge is part of healing, and understanding is part of strength. They spent hours together, Elias explaining the principles of human medicine, observation, and adaptability. Liara listened intently, asking questions and absorbing every detail. She was fascinated by how a single human could use creativity and empathy to solve problems that even her advanced civilization struggled with. By the end of the night, a bond had begun to form. It was not only a bond of healer and patient, but of two minds from different worlds, learning from each other. Elias realized that this connection could become something much greater, a bridge between human courage and alien wisdom. As dawn approached, Elias looked out at the rising suns. Princess Liara slept peacefully, her body finally resting after the long ordeal. Elias knew that challenges still lay ahead, cultural differences, political intrigue, and the possibility of the illness returning. But for now, there was hope. And in that hope, he found strength. Humans could adapt. Humans could fight against impossible odds. And in the quiet light of Veridia, Elias Trent knew that the story of his people was only beginning to reach the stars. The sun of Veridia shone softly through the palace windows, painting the crystal floors in shades of gold and green. Princess Liara had recovered enough to sit up in her chamber, supported by soft cushions. Dr. Elias Trent observed her carefully, checking her vitals and making small adjustments to her treatment. Her energy was returning steadily, and her pulse was strong, but Elias knew that her body and spirit were still fragile. As the day progressed, Liara's curiosity about humans grew. She had watched Elias work tirelessly, admired his patience, and noticed the unique way he approached problems. She spoke up while he adjusted her energy fields. "Dr. Trent," she said, her voice filled with wonder, "how can a human do so much with so little?" "Your methods are simple, but they seem powerful." Elias smiled gently. "Princess, humans rely on observation, creativity, and courage. We do not always have advanced tools or devices, but we can solve problems by thinking differently and taking risks when necessary." Liara tilted her head, thinking. "Different thinking and courage, I have never seen it in my world like that. Our healers depend on machines and magic-like energy flows. They are precise but rigid. You combine them with your mind. That is remarkable." Elias nodded. "Exactly. Creativity and adaptability are as important as skill. You never know when a problem will change, and sometimes the answer comes from unexpected places." Her eyes sparkled with interest. "Then you are teaching me more than medicine. You are teaching me a way to think." "That is human." The words made Elias pause for a moment. Humans were often underestimated across the galaxy, seen as weaker or less advanced. Yet here on Veridia, his people's strengths were visible, even to the most advanced civilization he had encountered. Their quiet discussion was interrupted by a knock on the chamber door. A group of Veridian advisors entered, their expressions a mix of curiosity, caution, and suspicion. "Your Highness, the Council wishes to discuss your recovery," one said. "It is unusual to have a human so involved in royal care. We must ensure proper protocol is followed." Liara frowned. "I am recovering, but Dr. Trent is helping me. Should I not decide who helps me?" The advisors exchanged uneasy glances. "In our culture, outsiders rarely take responsibility for a princess," another said. "We need to be certain that the humans' methods are safe and that there are no unforeseen consequences." Elias remained silent, observing. He understood their concern. In a highly structured society like Veridia, humans were seen as unpredictable, yet unpredictability could be a strength. He chose his words carefully. "Your Highness," he said respectfully, "my goal is to help you recover. I follow the principles of medicine, observation, and adaptability. I have no intention beyond saving your life and teaching you how to maintain your health. I respect your culture, and I act within the guidance of your healers and the king." The advisors studied him carefully. Some seemed impressed while others remained cautious. Liara's eyes shone with determination. "He has saved me. That should be proof enough. I trust him." Her words shifted the mood in the room slightly. Elias realized that trust could bridge gaps that even the most advanced protocols could not. The human quality of empathy, combined with skill, had begun to earn respect in a world that initially doubted him. Over the next few days, Liara continued her recovery under Elias' guidance. She learned about human medical methods, problem-solving, and adaptability. She asked questions, experimented with treatments, and began to see humans not as weak outsiders but as capable and clever beings. Meanwhile, Elias noticed subtle tensions in the court. Some advisors whispered about the human who dares to teach a princess, while others were curious, admiring the unexpected success of his methods. There were questions about whether a human could truly understand the complexities of Viridian biology and culture. One afternoon, as Elias prepared a treatment, Valor approached him. "Dr. Trent, some members of the court are concerned," he said cautiously. "They question whether a human should have such influence over the princess. You must understand this is not personal. It is tradition." Elias nodded. "I understand, but I have one goal: to save the princess. That is the same goal the king has. If my methods help, tradition should not prevent progress." Valor sighed. "You speak wisely, but Viridia is slow to accept change, especially from outsiders." "You will need patience as much as skill." Elias smiled faintly. "Patience is human, too." As days passed, Liara's strength improved. She could walk unassisted and even practiced basic energy flows with Elias' guidance. Though human methods were unfamiliar, she began to appreciate their logic and adaptability. She also noticed subtle differences between humans and Viridians, how humans relied on direct observation, flexibility, and personal responsibility, rather than rigid rules. The bond between doctor and princess deepened. Elias treated her not just as a patient, but as a partner in understanding and healing. Liara, in turn, shared stories of her world, the history of Viridia, and the expectations of royalty. Their conversations bridged cultures, showing that humans and Viridians could learn from each other. Yet not everyone in the court was pleased. Some advisors whispered doubts, warning that Liara's dependence on a human could disrupt tradition. "What if the human's influence grows too strong?" one asked another. "The princess may forget her responsibilities as a royal heir." King Oravan, however, watched silently. He had seen Elias' dedication, his intelligence, and the undeniable results of his work. The human had saved his daughter's life and taught her methods that no Viridian healer had discovered. The king began to see that humans, though different, could bring unique strengths to his world. One evening, Elias and Liara walked through the palace gardens, the air filled with the scent of alien flowers and the gentle hum of energy flowing through the trees. Liara stopped and looked at Elias. "You are unlike anyone I have met," she said softly. "You do not follow every rule. You trust your mind, your instincts, and your courage. It is inspiring." Elias chuckled softly. "Humans often have to improvise. We do not always have the luxury of rigid plans. We adapt, we learn, and we act. It is not always easy, but it works." Liara's eyes shone with understanding. "Then maybe humans and Viridians are not so different. We just need to learn from each other." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert from the palace monitors. An unexpected energy fluctuation had been detected near the city gates. Elias and Liara rushed to the control room, where Valor and other advisors were already gathered. "What is it?" Liara asked, concern in her voice. Valor frowned. "It appears to be an unusual energy surge. It could be natural, but it could also indicate an external threat. We must investigate immediately." Elias studied the readings. "The fluctuation is unusual. It does not match known patterns. I need to analyze it closely." For hours, Elias worked with the Viridian technology, combining human logic with alien systems to trace the source. The advisors watched in amazement as he interpreted the complex energy patterns, predicting where the surge would strike next. Finally, Elias spoke. "It is not a natural occurrence. Something or someone is manipulating energy outside the city. If we do not act, it could harm the citizens or disrupt vital systems." The king entered, observing Elias' work with interest. "Your analysis is correct. What do you propose?" Elias outlined a plan, combining human strategy with Viridian energy control. The princess, now more confident and aware, offered suggestions of her own, inspired by what she had learned from Elias. Together, they devised a method to contain the surge safely without harming anyone. The plan worked. The energy fluctuation was neutralized and the city remained unharmed. The court was amazed. Even the skeptical advisors could not deny the effectiveness of human thinking when combined with Viridian technology. King Orovin studied Elias carefully. Your courage and intellect have saved not only my daughter but our city as well. Humans truly have remarkable abilities. Elias bowed. I only do what I can to help. Humanity's strength lies in observation, adaptability, and action. That is all I have shared. Liara smiled at him. And I have learned more than I ever imagined. Your methods are powerful in ways I had never understood. You are teaching me to think, not just follow rules. That night, as the twin moons of Viridia rose over the palace, Elias reflected on the events of the day. Humans were often underestimated, seen as weak or inexperienced. Yet here, his people's qualities had made a real difference. Observation, creativity, courage, and empathy had changed the course of events on an alien world. Liara, sitting beside him, looked at the stars and said softly, Perhaps humans and Viridians are stronger together. We can learn from each other. Elias nodded. Exactly. That is the power of connection, understanding, and courage. Together we can face challenges no one else could. And so, a bond of trust, respect, and learning had formed between human and princess, bridging cultures and setting the stage for future adventures. The story of a human doctor and an alien princess was no longer just about healing. It was about discovery, courage, and the beginning of a remarkable alliance. The palace was alive with activity. Word of Princess Liara's recovery had spread throughout Viridia, and the court buzzed with curiosity and speculation. Some advisors were still cautious, their traditional minds questioning the human doctor's role in royal affairs. Others were awed by the results: a princess saved, a city protected, and challenges overcome. In the midst of it all, Dr. Elias Trent continued his work, monitoring Liara's health and guiding her understanding of both human and Viridian medicine. Liara, now fully awake and moving freely, walked alongside Elias through the palace gardens. The twin suns painted the paths in gold and green light. She carried herself with renewed energy and confidence, yet a quiet humility remained. Doctor. Trent, she said softly, I have learned so much from you, not just medicine, but how to think differently, how to see problems from angles I never considered. You have changed my life. Elias smiled. Princess, you are the one who endured the illness. I guided you, but your strength made the difference. I only helped you see possibilities you might not have considered. Liara paused, looking at him intently. You are, unlike anyone I have ever met. Humans think in ways that Viridians rarely do. Perhaps there is more we can learn from each other than I realized. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of King Orovin. He moved with the grace and authority of a ruler who had spent decades guiding his people. Yet today his expression was more thoughtful, almost contemplative. Dr. Trent, he said, his voice calm but commanding, your work has impressed me beyond words. You saved my daughter when others could not. You protected our city when the threat arose. You have proven the value of human ingenuity and courage. Elias bowed respectfully. Thank you, your majesty. I am honored to serve. The king took a deep breath and continued. There is a decision I have long considered, but I have never dared to act upon it. Today, however, your actions have made my choice clear. You have earned the trust of my family, the respect of my court, and the gratitude of an entire people. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. The court fell silent, the tension palpable. Every eye was on the king, waiting. Dr. Trent, King Orovin said finally, I am granting you a bond with Princess Liara. She will be under your guidance, not only for her health but for her education, her understanding of human methods, and the lessons she can learn from your people. This is unprecedented, but it is the only fitting reward for what you have done. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the court. Advisors whispered to each other, some in admiration, some in disbelief. A human entrusted with such responsibility, it had never happened before in Viridian history, yet the king's word was absolute. Liara looked at Elias, her violet eyes wide. Dr. Trent, are you sure this is right? She asked softly. Elias shook his head. I do not make the rules here, princess, but I promise to honor this trust. I will teach you, guide you, and protect you, as I have done from the beginning. You are capable, and together we will explore what humans and Viridians can achieve. The princess smiled faintly. a mixture of relief and excitement in her gaze. She sensed that this was not just about her health, it was a step toward understanding a world beyond her own. The advisors continued to murmur, some skeptical, some intrigued. One stepped forward cautiously. "Your Majesty, this is unusual. A human with such influence over the princess could disrupt our traditions." King Orevin's gaze was steady. "Traditions exist to guide us, but they must not prevent progress. Dr. Trent has proven himself. He has brought solutions when others failed. That is enough." Elias felt a mixture of pride and humility. Humans were often underestimated, even feared across the galaxy. Yet here, his actions, his ingenuity, and his courage had earned recognition and respect. It was a moment he would never forget. Over the following days, the bond between Elias and Liara grew stronger. He taught her about human medicine, strategy, and problem-solving, while she shared the knowledge of her world, its energy systems, and its history. Their lessons were not just academic. They were practical, creative, and sometimes even playful. One afternoon, they worked together on a new experiment, combining human logic with Viridian energy manipulation. Liara was fascinated by the process. "Humans and Viridians thinking together, it is powerful," she said, excitement in her voice. Elias smiled. "Exactly. When two different ways of thinking combine, solutions can appear where none existed before." The princess's confidence grew with each day. She began to move independently, practice her energy control, and assist Elias with minor treatments. The Viridian healers watched in admiration, noting how a human's influence could empower the princess rather than undermine her abilities. Yet even with progress, tensions remained. Some advisors continued to question the king's decision, worried that the princess might rely too heavily on a human. Others feared change itself, unsure of how to integrate foreign ideas into their long-standing traditions. One evening, Elias and Liara walked along a balcony overlooking the palace. The city below shimmered with the light of Viridia's twin moons. "Dr. Trent," Liara said thoughtfully, "do you think they will ever fully accept you, even after everything you have done?" Elias looked out at the horizon. "Perhaps not everyone will. Change is always difficult, but what matters is the ones who do understand, the ones who see the value in learning, courage, and collaboration. That is enough to make a difference." Liara nodded, inspired by his words. "Then we will face their doubts together. You have taught me that courage and intelligence can overcome fear. I will not let tradition stop what we can achieve." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert from the palace monitors. A distant energy disturbance had been detected near the city's outskirts. Elias studied the readings carefully. "It is unusual. It could be natural, but it may also be an organized attempt to test the city's defenses." Liara, now more confident in her abilities, suggested a course of action. "If we combine human strategy with Viridian energy control, we can contain it safely." Elias nodded, impressed. "You are learning quickly, Princess. Let's put your knowledge into practice." Together, they coordinated a response, blending human intuition with Viridian precision. The energy disturbance was neutralized without harm to the city. Advisors and citizens alike marveled at their teamwork. King Orevin watched quietly, his pride evident. Humans and Viridians working together, perhaps this is the future. Dr. Trent, you have not only saved my daughter, but you have also shown us what is possible when we embrace new ideas." Elias bowed. "I only do what I can to help." Humans are capable of adaptation, creativity, and courage. That is our greatest strength." Liara smiled at him. "And I have learned more than I ever imagined. Your methods are powerful, not just in medicine, but in thought and action. You have changed how I see the world." That night, the princess and the human doctor reflected on the events of the past weeks. A bond had formed, stronger than healer and patient. They were partners in learning, discovery, and courage. Their alliance was unusual, unprecedented, but undeniable in its strength. As the twin moons of Viridia rose, Elias looked at the city below. Humans were often underestimated, yet here, his people's qualities, adaptability, courage, and ingenuity had made a real difference. He realized that his journey was only beginning. Liara, sitting beside him, looked at the stars. "Perhaps humans and Viridians are stronger together. We can learn from each other and face challenges no one else can." Elias nodded. "Exactly. That is the power of connection, trust, and courage. Together we can achieve what neither of us could alone." And so, a new chapter began for Viridia. A human doctor had earned the trust of a princess, bridged cultures, and inspired a future of collaboration. The royal decree had not only changed the life of Liara, but had also begun to shift the perspective of an entire civilization. The city slept under the watchful glow of twin moons, unaware that the seeds of interstellar unity had already been sown. The morning light of Veridia shimmered off the crystal towers, painting the city in gold and green. Princess Liara stood on the palace balcony, looking toward the distant horizon. Her recovery was complete, and she moved with confidence and strength, yet her mind was filled with curiosity. She had learned much from Dr. Elias Trent about human methods, courage, and creative problem-solving. She now understood that humans had qualities no one could ignore: adaptability, intelligence, and the willingness to act when others hesitated. Elias joined her, his hands holding a small device that measured the city's energy flows. "Morning, Princess," he said with a smile. "The city's energy is stable. No disturbances so far today." Liara looked at him thoughtfully. "Doc. Trent, I have been thinking, you and I, humans and Veridians, together, we can do more than just heal and protect. We can explore, discover, and prevent threats before they reach us." Elias nodded. "Exactly. Cooperation is the key. Humans are adaptable, and Veridians have knowledge and energy control that even humans cannot match. Together, we can achieve the impossible." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm. The palace monitors detected unusual energy activity at the edge of the city. Elias' eyes narrowed as he examined the readings. "This is not natural," he said. "It is deliberate. Someone is testing our defenses." Liara stood straighter, determination in her violet eyes. "Then we act together. We will combine human strategy with Veridian control." Within minutes, they gathered a team of Veridian engineers, healers, and guards. Elias coordinated their actions, using human logic to plan multiple contingencies while Liara applied her knowledge of energy manipulation. Their teamwork was seamless, a balance of human creativity and Veridian precision. The threat appeared as a sudden surge of energy, pulsing and shifting unpredictably. It was designed to disrupt the city's systems and test its defenses. The team moved quickly. Elias directed Veridian shields to absorb the energy in precise intervals, while Liara channeled her powers to stabilize the affected sectors. The surge continued to shift, adapting as if it were alive. "It's testing us," Elias muttered. "We must stay ahead, anticipate its moves." Liara concentrated, adjusting her energy output in sync with Elias' instructions. The combination worked. The surge slowed, faltered, and finally dissipated without causing harm. The palace and city were safe. The court erupted in quiet admiration. Advisors who had once doubted Elias now recognized the power of human thinking when combined with Veridian skills. King Orovin approached, his expression proud and solemn. "You have proven once again, Doctor." "Trent," the king said, "that courage, intelligence, and collaboration can overcome even the most unpredictable threats. Humans and Veridians together, perhaps this is the future of our world." Elias bowed. "I only guide and observe." "The real power lies in cooperation, courage, and learning from one another." Liara stepped forward, her eyes shining. "And I have learned that humans are not just capable, they inspire. They challenge you to think differently, to adapt, and to act. Together, we are stronger." Over the next days, the city began to recognize the value of this new alliance. Citizens saw humans not as outsiders, but as partners, bringing fresh perspectives and solutions. Elias worked closely with Veridian scientists, sharing human methods and learning from their energy manipulation. Together, they developed new technologies and safety systems, ensuring that the city would be prepared for future challenges. Liara trained alongside Elias, learning not only medicine and strategy, but also the human approach to problem-solving. She was fascinated by how he observed, adapted, and acted quickly without relying solely on technology. She realized that human courage and creativity could fill gaps where Veridian methods alone might fail. One afternoon, as they practiced energy stabilization in the palace courtyard, a young Veridian engineer approached them. "Princess, Doctor." "Trent," he said hesitantly, "there is a disturbance in the northern sectors. It appears smaller, but it is unusual. Shall we investigate?" Elias nodded. "Yes, let's go. This is a perfect opportunity to test our combined skills." The team moved swiftly toward the northern sector. As they arrived, they saw a small group of rogue drones attempting to disrupt the city's energy grid. They moved with speed and precision, but Elias and Liara were ready. "Contain the drones," Elias instructed. "Use controlled energy pulses to immobilize them. Keep the civilians safe." Liara channeled her powers alongside the human team. Her violet energy flowed in precise patterns, synchronizing with Elias' commands. The drones faltered, then stopped, neutralized without harm to the city. The Viridian guards and engineers cheered. Elias allowed himself a small smile. Humans could not control energy like Viridians, but their strategies, quick thinking, and adaptability made them a powerful complement. Later, in the palace council chamber, King Oravan addressed the advisors and citizens. "Today, we have witnessed the power of unity. A human and a Viridian working together have protected our city from danger. This is proof that courage, intelligence, and collaboration are stronger than fear and tradition." The advisors nodded, some still cautious but most inspired. The citizens applauded. Elias' reputation as a hero of Viridia had solidified. Humans were no longer just outsiders, they were allies, teachers, and problem solvers. As the sun set, Elias and Liara walked through the palace gardens, reflecting on the events of the day. "Dr. Trent," Liara said, "I understand now. Humans are special not because of strength or technology, but because of how they think, how they adapt, and how they face challenges without fear. You have shown me that courage and intelligence can change the world." Elias nodded. "And you have shown me the power of your people. Your energy control, your knowledge, and your willingness to learn from humans make this partnership extraordinary. Together, we are stronger than we could ever be alone." Liara smiled. "Then we continue together. Humans and Viridians, learning from each other, protecting each other, and discovering what is possible." The twin moons of Viridia rose over the crystal towers, casting a soft glow across the city. Elias and Liara stood side by side, looking out at the horizon. The world was vast, full of challenges and mysteries, but together they knew they could face anything. The story of a human doctor and an alien princess had begun as a tale of healing and courage. It had grown into a story of unity, trust, and interstellar collaboration. Humans were no longer underestimated. Their creativity, adaptability, and courage had earned respect across the stars. The city of Viridia slept peacefully, protected by two extraordinary allies who had proven that intelligence and courage, combined across worlds, could overcome any obstacle. As Elias gazed at the stars, he felt a quiet pride. Humans had always faced challenges, sometimes insurmountable, yet they persevered. On this distant planet, that perseverance had saved a life, strengthened a civilization, and forged a bond that could endure for generations. Liara, standing beside him, whispered softly, "The future is bright. Together we can reach beyond the stars." Elias smiled. "Yes, Princess, together we can reach anywhere." And so the human doctor and the alien princess embarked on a new journey, not only as healer and student, but as partners, allies, and symbols of courage and collaboration across worlds. The story of humans in Viridia was only beginning, but already it was clear. When humans faced the unknown with courage, creativity, and determination, no challenge was impossible. The twin moons glimmered over the crystal city, and the stars beyond seemed to shine just a little brighter, as if acknowledging the courage of a single human and the power of unity across the universe.